Look at that. The sun hidden behind this, I'd say this is a fog. I don't know, there is a difference between a mist and a fog. But this to me feels like a fog. But maybe it's the same thing. Maybe fog is used in the US and mist is used in the UK, you know how that goes. I was told I'm having, and probably I do have a US accent. I mean, I do hope I have a, I don't have much of a, a Slavic accent. I pride myself in having a good native speak. No, I'm just kidding. Of course, I do say some things and words that are not, that kind of give me away. Like, they don't sound native. But and then I'm trying to pretend that I'm like not Czech or anything. I just like a good sort of pronunciation, and yeah, nothing against accents, by the way. I'm just saying. But yeah, I guess I do have an American accent, and I do use American words and American wording and American expressions, save for some rare exceptions. But yeah, I am 100% Czech. Actually, I made a DNA test. There's genetic, whatever that is, the genetic sort of analysis of where your ancestors come from and all that. And I did find that I am, what was the number? I think 38% English, which is, I was like, what? How did that happen? So apparently I'm 38%, my 30% of my DNA, or like my ancestry or whatever, comes from Great Britain, and part of it from Scotland and Ireland. So I was like, wow, okay, that explains my love for English language, I suppose. So yeah, that is just a fun little fact, that I'm apparently partly British, and I speak in an American accent, so that is a bit of a paradox, huh? But yeah, I don't know, I just find American English to be more, like, easier definitely easier to pronounce, and kind of more, like, I guess it's kind of lazier, I suppose. Like British English is beautiful. It's like very sort of like book-like, and very sort of dictionary-like, and very literal, so to speak, if that's how you say it, literal, as in literary. By the way, let's go with Drake this time, maybe. See if he finds anything up, because he's always going that way, so let's follow him. We're hearing song thrush a lot up there. Some drumming. So, oh yeah, by the way, this, when you find in the forest, when the base of a tree is sort of so being worked on like this, being hollowed out, this is usually the work of a black woodpecker, Geocopus martius, and it usually happens on like a base of a tree trunk. Also, it happens often in other parts of the trunk, like here, and usually has a shape. It has an oval shape. It's like a long. It's not a hole. It's not a clear circular hole, but it's like a oval shape, sort of longer oval shape hole, and that is a work of a black woodpecker. And this certainly as well, because these are quite big holes. See that? They're quite big, quite deep. So the only woodpecker that has the strength to do such work is definitely a black woodpecker. Look at that. Look at all you know, look at all the material that the woodpecker take out. It's almost, I think it would, if it would go long enough, it would actually cut down, quote unquote, the whole tree. And maybe that's what happened there, although probably that was done by wind, or it just fell off eventually. So yeah, that is a black woodpecker's work. That is a black woodpecker's work, and also that's how you're gonna recognize woodpecker nest. Woodpecker nesting hole is that it has all. Hold on a second, I didn't see that much fur, did I? See that? I don't remember seeing that much fur before. Huh. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Oh, shoot. Okay, so there is a remnant of the deer. So there's a lot of fur here. And here, there is the piece of the leg. See it? And I don't see the other leg. Oh, there's the second leg there. So hold on, let me show you. So here is one leg here. And right over there, here's the second one. Yeah, here. And that's about it. I don't see anything else. So I didn't see that last time. Okay. Oh yeah, there's no, there's nothing here. No. Yeah, so that's interesting. Okay, so it got completely eaten, save for those legs. Oh, and probably there's some more bones scattered around, but I don't see any right now. But we found those two legs, so that's interesting. Anyways, let's continue up. Maybe we're gonna find some more interesting stuff. Yeah, so that's how you're gonna recognize and identify black woodpecker's cavity, nesting cavity. See here, he also did some work here on the base of the dead tree. So how you're gonna recognize woodpecker's nesting cavity is that it has an oval shape hole, an oval shape entrance, which is very specific because usually, oh look, there's a track, animal track here, so the deers traverse the hill through here. So it's very specific because oval shape nesting cavity hole is really only done by a black woodpecker, Dryocopus martius. So if you're gonna see an oval shaped entrance in a tree, that was done by a black woodpecker. Now, it doesn't have to mean that a black woodpecker lives there anymore, because could be a nesting cavity that was created by a black woodpecker. But black woodpecker is one of those birds that act as a builder and as an architect, so to speak, for other birds. Because once he creates that cavity and at some point abandons it, then that nesting cavity can serve a huge amount of different species. It's a favorite nesting spot for instance, there's a wren singing, song thrush very loudly too. Yeah, now the repeating. We got a wren as well. That's the long song, high pitched. Yeah, it's a favorite nesting spot and nesting cavity for this owl. And now I remember, it's a boreal owl. It's a boreal owl, and unfortunately I don't remember the Latin name right now, but it's a boreal owl, and I think it's an owl that is very, very common in the northern hemisphere. I think it's even in the or I'm not sure if the same species, but very similar one, it lives in Canada and North America. So boreal owl uses these it's like a small owl, and it uses these cavities done by a black woodpecker very often. And it actually needs those nesting cavities being created by those woodpeckers. It wouldn't create it by itself, right? Because it's an owl. And the other woodpeckers, like a great spotted, their nesting cavities are much smaller, and more importantly, their nesting holes, the entrances to those cavities, have a circular small hole, and that owl wouldn't fit through. So, you know, it's important that it has this shape and it has this size, and that is provided by, hold on, I'm gonna take a drink. That is provided by a black woodpecker, because he makes such nesting cavities. So he's a very important builder and sort of an architect for other species like this boreal owl, or for instance, there's a species of wood pigeons that also nests in such nesting cavities, and it is a species that is very, very specific. It's like a common to common. It is similar to a wood pigeon, but it's smaller. Kind of looks cuter. It's got, which is interesting, it's got a black eye, completely black eye. Usually these city pigeons, and I mean rock pigeons and wood pigeons, they have a colorful eye. You can see the pupils, but these have completely black, like it's like a black beads, black eyes, and they're living exclusively in woods, in forests, where they nest in those cavities, which is also quite unique, because wood pigeons, for instance, builds nests, you know, classic from twigs, somewhere on the treetops, whereas rock pigeon nests on ledges, right? And wood pigeon, this pigeon, and unfortunately I cannot really recall the English name, so I'm gonna definitely post it there. But this pigeon, which is the rarest of those three here in Central Europe, as far as I know, that pigeon lives in the cavities, and exclusively in the cavities and in the woods. So that pigeon is using black woodpecker's cavities. Good boy. And you have more species like that, you know, like builders and species of birds that build and are architects for other people's. Well, that would be interesting, that birds would, you know, architect our housings, and they would create our houses. That would be interesting. But it does work that way in the animal kingdom, that there are species simply that build something, and then other species are using it as their house, for so to speak. So there are other species like that. For instance, there is magpie that builds very intricate and very well built nests out of twigs, and it's also almost like a basketry work. We're definitely going to see or talk about that again. And once they build it and at some point abandon it, these are then often used by other species. They just don't build nests on their own, how is it called? I only recall the Latin name, Falco tidinculus. It is a small bird of prey. Again, I'm going to post it in the subtitles. I'm not going to try and find it in my memory. And also, for instance, by other species of owls, like a long-eared owl, that is also using nests from a magpie, because it's not building nests on its own, so it needs nests that are already created. And I lost Drake. Where the hell did he went? I suspect he's gonna be over there. And no, he's over there. Okay. Kam si běžel, Drake'u, co? Good boy. So there are species of birds that do not build nests on their own, and they need specifically builders like magpies or black woodpeckers that create those nests for them, and they're super important in that regard. Of course, black woodpecker is very important in many other aspects too, but that's very interesting. You know, very interesting that there are species that just don't build nests on their own, and they're very almost exclusively dependent on species like black woodpecker or magpie to build those nests for them. So yeah, so that was just an interesting piece of info, and we came across those sort of field tracks of a presence of a black woodpecker, and there are loads of woodpeckers, black woodpeckers around here, so it's not a surprise really. But it's just kind of cool, like field marks and all those things that you come across in the forest that tells you, oh, this bird lives here. And there's tons of field tracks and sort of field clues that tell you about presence of a certain species without you hearing them or seeing them. And it doesn't have to be poop. It can be all sorts of signs of activity, like I talked about green woodpecker and how it pecks on the anthills. And when you see a dugout anthill at the base, that was done by a green woodpecker, and that tells you, oh, green woodpecker lives in this area. So there are all sorts of cool field marks and not field marks, but field what is it called? Field clues, field tracks, I guess, that tells you, yeah, there is this particular species living in this area, which is cool. It gives you a knowledge about your surroundings and gives you knowledge about the place that you are in. And it always made me kind of feel, I don't know, it feels good just to know, just to be aware of your surroundings and be able to read all those different signs around you. And I can imagine people back in, you know, centuries and thousands of years back, they had an incredible knowledge of tracks and of signs of that they can find in the wild that tells them, oh, this animal is here, and they could read the terrain and landscape like a book. And that is just incredible and must have been so cool. I'm pretty sure that we lost like, well, 99% of that knowledge completely, and now we're just clueless, you know, walking, and we're like, oh, you know, trees. So it's just kind of cool to regain part of that knowledge. You know, I was talking about foraging wild herbs and wild plants and foraging food in the wild, and this kind of ties to this as well. It's just so cool to regain some of that knowledge for you and for yourself. And I don't know, maybe some people are like, whatever, I can buy things in store and I can look up things on the internet. I don't need these things, right? And you don't. That's the fact. You just don't need those things anymore today. You don't need to know that was created by a black woodpecker, right? But it's just cool, you know. It's just a fun thing to know, and it feels good, at least to me. Found some feathers here, which probably there's a pattern on it, which is interesting. Sometimes when you find a feather, it has a very specific pattern, as you can see here. I don't know if you can see it, sorry, always get the angle wrong, but it has a very interesting pattern. And I think, of course, that's just a guess, I'm not sure 100%, but I think given the two colors and given the pattern, there was a feather of missel thrush or song thrush or missel thrush, but definitely a thrush. But then again, I might be wrong, of course. There wasn't 100% identification. And by the way, that leads me to, sorry, I'm on fire. I'm talking very quickly probably today. I didn't take Coke, don't worry. It's just, I don't know. I just, sometimes I get onto this flow and I like finding topics to talk about, and it just flows and I just go with the flow. So, one thing I wanted to talk about is something that a lot of people don't Oh, I have a napkin. Wow, I totally forgot I have a napkin. Sorry, I'm gonna blow my nose. Oh, goddamn, that feels good. I really forgot I have a napkin, so I was already, again, walking with my congested nose, and I was like breathing through my mouth, and I was like, oh, god damn it. One thing I wanted to say is that, and it's quite common, and I don't think it's just common in like scientific field, and in like if you're, for instance, if you're an expert on something, you know, or you consider yourself to be an expert or something, or just maybe you consider yourself knowledgeable in some field, and it can be anything. It can be investing, it can be ornithology, it can be economics, whatever, you know. There is absolutely no shame to admit that you just don't know, you know. There's absolutely no shame in that at all whatsoever. And so if you, by the way, there was a person there. I mean, it's as if I'm seeing a ghost. I've never ever seen a person walking here in the morning. That's just like, what? So I am taking a little different route right now. I'm just gonna wait until that person sort of passes a little bit, so, or like gets ahead, so that I can finish what I was saying. But that is, wow, I've never seen a person here. Is it a ghost? Maybe it is a ghost. Wow, it looks like a ghost, to be honest, how the person disappears in the fog. But I'm like, what the hell, is that a person? Really, it's such an unusual sight here. You just don't meet people. You don't. So that's very interesting, especially in the morning. You don't. But look at that; it's beautiful. I'm gonna wrap it up on this beautiful view. So there is absolutely no shame in admitting that you just don't know. And I've been in similar situations myself when I was expecting to say something because I know a lot about this in about that field, and I kind of feel pressured to give an answer. I kind of feel pressured to I really should know this, right? I mean, God, like how do I not know this? There is no shame in saying I don't know. Sorry, you know, I'm like, this is something that I haven't read up on, or I haven't learned yet, or this is something I have to look into. Thank you for this question. This is awesome. So that, you know, I can look it up somewhere and I can grow and I can expand my knowledge, and I'm gonna get back to you and tell you what it is. Really, there's absolutely no shame in doing that. No shame at all, because you cannot know everything. It's just, you just cannot. Of course, there's people that know almost everything, but they don't know everything. That's impossible. So that's how it goes. You learn, you find new things, you correct your mistakes. You find out that you are doing some things wrong, you are saying some things wrong, something is differently than you thought. That's totally fine. You're not a god, you're not a robot, you're not an AI that knows everything and taps into the knowledge of the universe and internet and pulls everything out of pulls everything out of your finger. You're a human being, and you have faults, and you have boundaries of your knowledge. And good boy. And it's good boy. It's totally fine to say you don't know, and say I don't know with certainty, and I think this is not as you know, whatever. It's just okay. You don't have to know everything. That's something what I wanted to say, because I've seen a lot of time people struggling with that and trying to come up with an answer, and then maybe they even make up an answer just because so they don't look like, you know, so they don't look like amateurs, that they don't know this particular thing. But it's totally fine to not know, even if it's your field. Totally fine. Don't be shy and afraid of saying I don't know. I'll find out. I'll look into it, and so on and so forth. It's totally fine. And if you're a birder or ornithologist, if you see something or hear something you don't recognize, just say it. It's okay, man. You don't have to recognize every flying bird and identify it with certainty. It's just like, you cannot. Even if you're the most experienced birder doing it for 50 years, there will be situations when you just don't know. because you're not an all-knowing entity, you know, that's just it. So it's totally fine to say, I don't know. No, it was too far, or I don't know, the lighting is not, you know, as favorable or whatever. It's fine. You cannot know everything, and you cannot identify and say everything with a certainty. You just can't. So that was just a little bit of a, you know, whatever you want to call it, a little bit of a side topic, let's say. But anyway, yeah. I was also talking about that English, right? And I kind of didn't finish that. I feel like that I'm talking like, yeah, British, yeah. That I chose American accent. That's what I wanted to say, that I chose an American accent because it just feels sort of more fluid and more easy to kind of converse with, you know. It's just, it's kind of simplified version of the British English, I feel like, and it's so easy to use and so easy to sort of like discuss in and talk, you know, talking, like, I don't know. So that's why I went for an American accent, because I don't know, it feels more natural to me for whatever reason. I guess because it's easier, and you know, people usually do pick the easier option. That's just our nature, I guess. So I went the easier way, and years and years back, I went with the American accent. So that was just a little bit of a fun fact. Anyways, I'm gonna sign off now. The person's gone, by the way. Probably disappeared because it was a ghost. Yeah, most likely it was a ghost. No, it probably wasn't, but you know, it's nice to think that it was. Anyway, signing off.